Alright guys, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this shit. All the time I have to walk around this fucking city and you know what I see? I see garbage. I see fucking people that are fat, they're unhealthy, they've got diseases, they're barely even conscious on the fucking drugs that they're prescribed, man. This is not okay. We are living in a society that is in the process of collapse. That means that in another 100 years, in another 25 years, they could make this all collapse and be totally fucked, but they don't want that because it's not profitable for them. You see, eventually they'll have their perfect world, you know, but greed is never satisfied. So what they think is perfect now will not be perfect in the future. So in order to create this perfect world passively, so they don't have to do the work, they have to come up with a race of people. And I'm not talking black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, Indian, whatever. I mean the human race. They've sculpted the human race eugenically aside from their own ancestry to be a race of subservient people in order to build this society for them. And you know what? I'm fucking fed up with it, alright? Now, the people that do something about this, most of the time, they're not really doing something, you know? I saw a book today that had a very enlightening title. It's, Stop Being a Library. Start a Revolution. You know? So, I see people, and my close friends, myself included, they look at society and they say, you know what, this is fucked up. And you know what, that's the first step to success. If you can tell that it's fucked up, that's good, you know? Like, it may seem bad because of how fucked up it is and the connotations that that brings, but just acknowledging the fact that it's fucked up, that's the first good step. Now, the second step is accepting that fact. You have to acknowledge it and accept it. You know, people will acknowledge it's fucked up and then they'll turn away, you know? And when they turn away, they're making a choice to make the world a worse place. Because the world is already becoming a worse place, and with anyone's activism, the world could become less of a worse place until it becomes a better place, you know? But the world is in a finite balance between all these wonderful, wonderful things that we have, the innovations, the cultures, the people, you know, the creativity, the imagination, you know, the adventures lived and the dreams fulfilled, you know? But there's a finite balance between all of that good stuff and all of the bad stuff. Because what society wants is more. Moto. You know? So society says, alright, we'll let you have all the good shit because we kind of enjoy looking at it, you know? And it makes you guys feel fulfilled, so we'll let you have some good shit, you know? In fact, we'll let you have as much good shit as you want, or as much as you can pay for. Of course, you have to work for all the good shit, and you're going to a job where you get paid $10 for 60 minutes of work. That's that's ridiculous. That's 6 cents a minute. You know, 60 cents. I don't know the math, but it's fucking horrible, man. It's really bad. $10 an hour to be making them mass amounts of money. You know, you could be working in a plant for $20 an hour, let's say, constructing, I don't know, 100 devices or products of some kind that cost, you know, $50, $100, $200, you know, or more. And you're still getting paid shit. So somebody's coming in for $10 an hour, producing like $1,000 of profit. Now that's not okay, you know. See, the thing that's happened here is we have the primary industries, the ones that produce the goods from the ground. You know, they take a raw resource and they make it into something that's usable. Or the real primary industry is they take the raw resource of the earth and they grow something. They don't create it, but they nourish it, you know? Like, when you are a farmer, you don't create wheat. You simply nourish wheat seeds. Wheat is already wheat. When you start messing with what things are naturally, that's not okay. You don't need to do that. That's extra work, first off. And second off, it's not good, man. shit will evolve how it's supposed to be. I don't care whether you think that this planet was a random consequence of events, because that makes sense, right? Or if you think it was created, whatever. I don't personally believe any of it. You want to know what I believe? I believe the world is where it is, and what we have is this world, you know? And it really isn't worth questioning into how it all got here until we actually solve the shit that we're dealing with, okay? So the first step to being a good human being is acknowledgement. You have to see what's wrong with society. The second step is to accept it, to look into the face of death and acknowledge that it's real, and to not look away, to not feign a coward. Because we're not meant to be cowards. We were created to be cowards. Wheat was not meant to be poisonous. It was created to be poisonous when it's bleached with chemical bleach dioxins, chlorine dioxin. Chlorine was what they used in the war to kill people, to disfigure them and destroy their senses. Chlorine is what is in our foods. Everything that's bleached, any white food product, white bread, white rice, not even just food products, toilet paper, tampons, all bleached with chlorine dioxide or some other sort of bleach agent, you know? They even put bleach in tampons and pads. You know what that means? You know what that causes? When you put dioxins into stuff that people are putting right on their sexual organs, it causes fucked up shit, man. It causes sexual diseases, you know, and these are not things that go away or that go away easily. In fact, they would like us to believe that no disease ever goes away, you know? Like, as soon as you get any sort of disease, you get heart disease, you get cancer, that cancer's a big one, you know? People start getting offended when you suggest that there's a cure for cancer. You get Crohn's, you get depression. People want you to believe that these are chemical imbalances in your brain, in your body, that you were just flawed with. And you were made inferior. You were made flawed. You were made broken. And the only way that you can live a decent existence at all is if you cope with this. You accept it and you cope with it, you know? And this comes to step number 3. You have to acknowledge that the world is fucked up, that your body is fucked up, that your environment, your diet, your fitness, your sleep, your perspective. You have to acknowledge society, people in power. Not all of them. Not everyone's fucking corrupt. But people, the world, society, there is corruption, alright? Now corruption has to latch itself on to something good to be corruption. Otherwise, it's just straight up evil, right? You know, like if an evil man who kills people all his life kills another person, he's not corrupt. You know he kills people, you know? That's just a guy fucking killing people. But if a good guy says, you know what, I know this guy's killed some people, but he's offered me quite a lot of money, and I think that it would be a bad decision if I didn't take that money and work with him. That's corruption, you know? So step 1 is acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge it's fucked up. Step 2 is to accept it and look into the face of society. Look into the face of yourself, of your friends, of the people that walk your streets in a drug-induced daze. That's step 2. Now what is step 3? Step 3 is creating a plan, you know? There's no action without plan. And there's no change without action. So you have to actually create a plan. You have to catalog like they've done, you know, become a human library. But at the same time, you have to be creating a plan, you know? Like, we know that there's dioxins in our food. We know that there's GMO products. We know that it's sprayed with pesticides. We know that our animals that we eat are grown in cells barely large enough for them to stand, where their shit falls through slats in the floor and they get sick constantly. We know that when that meat is processed, it's left around, fed back to the animals. The meat workers stab knives in it to release the pus that's building up inside the meat before they sell it to you. The actual meat manufacturers of chicken inject the chicken with saline solution, salt water, to make it bigger and to make it preservative. And because salt is not good for you. You want to know what salt preserves? The bacteria in your body. You know? It's not about, like, if you look at seal test milk, why would anyone name a nutritional product as the main factor that it lasts a long time? It is sealed. It's seal tested. The seal has been tested. Why would anyone buy a product that's main claim to fame is that it lasts longer than other products? IV bags that are manufactured with plastic. It's not just any plastic. The type of plastic that they use for this is a similar type of plastic that they use for almost everything that comes in contact with you. This plastic has been proven to make blood in IV bags last twice as long. It has also been proven to cause severe health effects. We do not need a bunch of blood sitting around that is eventually going to give people health problems when they're already dealing with health problems and disease. This is wrong. We should not be doing this. This is not okay. But you know what they do? They bombard us with trillions of news items. And then when something does slip through, not only are we barely allowed to think about it before they put the next thing on us, because it's all concentrated. There's never enough time to look at everything, but somehow we feel the need to try. You know, but it shouldn't be like this. You know, I'm sick of it. Like, I'm sick today because I went to a rave in Toronto and there was somebody there that was sick, you know? It was not good. Ugh. My mucus is yellow and white, but you know what? I've been sick for a week. My throat hurts every time I swallow. I sweat in the night. My sheets are drenched with sweat. I'm drinking all kinds of water to try and flush this out of my system, but you know what? It's just gonna have to take its own course. But you know, I've been researching things about nutrition, and some of my friends have too. You know, and I think everybody knows that milk is not good for you when you're sick. You know, now food is supposed to be medicine. You know, food is supposed to be good for you. So when do you need medicine? When you're sick, right? So why would we eat a food that's bad for us when we're sick? That doesn't make sense, okay? Now, my parents, they do their best, you know. Our whole society has been brainwashed with what the idea of food is, you know. Like, the actual Canada Health Guide says that we need meat and dairy. They don't directly say it, but they say meat, dairy, and alternatives, you know. Meat and dairy are the alternatives. What we should be eating is a plant-based diet. Now, I don't mean fruits and vegetables alone. I mean plants, you know. A tree is not a fruit and it's not a vegetable. You know, like, this word nutrition has been coined and manipulated on purpose, you know. Nutrients, you know. But nutrition has one connotation, but I'm not going to speak about that connotation. I'm going to talk about the real nutrition. Nutrition is putting things into your body that are natural, whole foods, plants, that act as medicine to your body. They act as fuel for your body. Now, a machine takes lubricating fluid to function well. So it doesn't heat up, it doesn't rust, you know, it doesn't chip, snap, or break, you know. A machine requires lubricating fluid. Now, human beings also require lubricating fluid, just a different kind. We're not made of metal. We're made of water, mostly water, with other trace elements, alright? Our lubricating fluid is water. The water goes into our stomach And along with the air that we breathe and the nutrients in the food that we eat is converted into blood. Blood is our lubricating fluid. Blood and lymph, you know? Lymph is like white blood cell type stuff, you know? It helps heal our bodies. It's the medicine our bodies naturally produce, you know? If you start getting a swollen lymph node, that means that your system's probably fighting something, alright? So, if you take a machine and you put, I don't know, fryer grease on it, or you put mustard on it, or you try to lubricate it with gum and Coca-Cola, you know, you try and lubricate it with breadcrumbs, you know, you try and lubricate it with, I don't know, orange juice. It's not going to do the same shit, you know? That's not what the machine needs. Our machine needs water, okay? And speaking about orange juice, when you eat an orange, those are natural, unprocessed sugars. It may be a GMO orange, but can we do anything about that at this point? Not right now, but we can in the future, you know? We can't do anything to solve these problems only because the corporations are in control. If we actually knew how to grow our own food naturally, unaltered, we would not have this problem. But you see, they have control because they do it for everyone. And we're in the day and age where not everybody wants to own a farm. Not everyone is capable of growing all of the food items that they need and surviving, you know? Even if you're capable of growing every nutritional item that you need, you're capable of purifying your own water, you own your own home and your own land, even then, you are not free of this corruption. Even when you have no reliance on the rest of society, you will still be taxed. You will still live in an environment where the air and the water is polluted. You will still live in an environment where you can go out into society and people's minds are convoluted with madness that they believe is an honest, just, sane reality. This is not reality. They say that we're living in a simulation, an illusion. And we are, but it's not the way that we think. Reality does exist. The simulation is run over top of reality. You see, if I take a gel, you may say, this camera's not looking at anything, it's just looking at yellow, you know? Look, this is what my hand looks like. This is the real world. Imagine my hand right here is our health, and we say, this is normal. We've been looking at this yellow gel for so long that this is normal. This is what our hand looks like. But you know what? Reality exists, and it's not fucking yellow. It's not mucus green, and it's not what society, and especially not what our governments have been telling us. Alright? The illusion exists over top of reality. We are not living, ultimately, in a simulation. The simulation is like when you dig through dirt as an archaeologist and you find layers and layers and layers of all the different types of things that happened, and you can trace back what happened in history through the layers of the soil and their contents. That is what the illusion is like. Reality is at the bottom. Think of it as the core of the earth, you know? What the core powers the earth. Without the core, we'd be dead, you know? Without the sun, we'd be dead. But in the ground, on the surface, in the air, there are layers of illusions, falsities, and lies. Corruption, deceit. These are the illusion. Life is not an illusion. Even if life was a simulation, and we're just here as high developed, to us, digital programs in a simulated universe, even then, life is real. What we do with our life is real. We have choices. They want you to believe that we don't have choices, that life is a simulation, that life doesn't matter, that life is meaningless. Because they want you to be a hedon. They want you to be a masochist. They want you to delight in the destruction of things and the harm of others, you know? They want you to delight in the harm of yourself. They want you to think you're doing the right thing while you fuck yourself and everyone else over. That's the simulation, you know? We make choices every day when you get up. You know, someone once said, a great man probably, because, you know, anyone who can make a quote with power that means something, and it means something good that can help us change, that's a great man who created that. Someone once said, every time that you make a choice, you're also making an infinite number of choices not to do everything that you didn't choose. So every time you do something, think about it. You're choosing not to do everything else. When you wake up in the morning and you turn on the news, you're choosing not to read. Now, what is the news going to tell you? You know, back in World War II, as an example, I'm sure that in Nazi Germany, the news was telling them something, but it wasn't necessarily true, and it wasn't necessarily what they believed, you know? The news is an engine of lies and deceit and corruption. The news is the main manipulatory power of powers that be. You know, George Orwell predicted it, you know? Multiple people have predicted this, and all these dystopic novels have become the foundations of a corrupt world that we live in today. Now, step 3 is coming up with a plan. Step 4 is action. You have to actually do something to solve a problem. And every time you decide to do anything that isn't solving a problem, you're making a choice not to solve problems. And when you make a choice not to solve problems, you make a choice for there to be problems. You know? Like with this white bread shit, you know? We can't be eating food that's full of dioxins. It is not going to kill us immediately. It is not immediately going to give us a disease. It's not going to give everyone a disease. But the white bread is not the only thing. The government, it's not even the government. There's good people in the government. Don't get me wrong, alright? Like, there's people manipulating things from the shadows, and what they want, it's not even the business people. The business people are the conduit. They're a problem too because they're corrupt, you know? We don't need a middleman. A middleman was a necessity to get things out. Now we're in a global age. We do not need a middleman anymore. But the problem is that the people at the top, I don't even want to call them people. The minds at the top, you know, they don't want us to solve problems. And they don't want us to, you know, if you feed somebody poison and they say, ugh, it tastes like poison, I'm not going to eat that anymore, then the poison will not be effective. For poison to be effective, you have to make it taste delicious, you know? Sugar, butter, salt. These are the things that we crave. They're manipulating our basic mind's tendency to seek out sweet flavors, you know, over bitter flavors. The bitter things generally are what are good for us. We want to identify what natural plants are poisons. But you know what? Those plants aren't just poisons. They have uses. There's no such thing as a weed. Everything has a use. Everything. You know? And they want us to believe that the only things we need to eat are meat, dairy, grain, you know, and fruits and vegetables. Now, how is it that we look at grain, fruits, and vegetables, and we don't see the fact that they're all three are plants, you know? Like, if you look at the teeth of a carnivore, we do not have the teeth of a carnivore. We have teeth much more similar to a frugivore, a species that has a diet consisting mostly of fruits. It is okay to eat meat. It's okay to eat dairy. But it's not good to eat this stuff every day.